Welcome back to USA Car Reviews, where we dive deep into the machines that shaped America's love affair with the road. Today, we're stepping back into a time when muscle cars weren't just vehicles, they were rolling statements of power, pride, and personality. The year is 1968, and Pontiac has just pulled the cover off something that will stir the soul of every gearhead from coast to coast. This is the brand new 1968 Pontiac Firebird, a car that didn't just enter the pony car wars, it came out swinging. When you think about 1968, you think about a country in motion. Muscle cars were everywhere, Detroit was in full swing, and every manufacturer was trying to outdo the other in performance, style, and sheer attitude. Ford had the Mustang, Chevrolet had the Camaro, and Pontiac, well, Pontiac decided to take a little bit of both worlds and add its own distinctive punch. The result was the Firebird, a car that combined sleek design with street-ready performance and a touch of refinement that set it apart. From the very first glance, the '68 Firebird draws you in with its long, low, aggressive stance. The split front grille gives it a fierce look, almost like it's ready to pounce. And those chrome accents, they're not overdone, they're just enough to catch the sunlight and make you take a second look. The redesigned front end for 1968 is cleaner and sharper than the debut year's model, with hidden windshield wipers and a freshened bumper design that seems to wrap around the car like a tailored suit. Walk around the side and you'll notice the sculpted body lines. They aren't just flat panels, they have depth, curves, and a sense of motion even when the car's standing still. Pontiac's attention to detail was something special back then, and you can see it in the way the fenders flare subtly to give the Firebird a muscular look without going over the top. And those vent-like slit openings behind the front wheels, they're not just for style, they hint at performance, giving you a taste of what's under the hood. Speaking of what's under the hood, Pontiac made sure you had plenty of choices to fit your budget and your need for speed. The 1968 Firebird could be had with everything from the base 230 cubic inch inline 6 all the way up to the monstrous 400 cubic inch V8. And we're not just talking about one flavor of the 400. You could go with the standard 400, the high-output version, or, if you were feeling truly adventurous, the Ram Air setup, which was designed to gulp in cool air at speed and feed that hungry engine the oxygen it needed to really come alive. Horsepower ranged from a modest 165 in the base model to well over 330 in the top-of-the-line performance versions, giving you the freedom to build your Firebird as mild or as wild as you wanted. The moment you fire up one of those big version 8s, you know this car means business. The exhaust note is deep, throaty, and unapologetic. It doesn't whisper, it announces. And when you drop the clutch and get into the throttle, the Firebird surges forward with that unmistakable torque-rich muscle car feel. 0 to 60 in just over 6 seconds was entirely possible with the right setup, and quarter-mile times in the low 14s meant you could hold your own against just about anything on the street in '68. Inside, Pontiac gave the Firebird a cabin that mixed sportiness with comfort. Bucket seats came standard, and they weren't just for show, they held you in place when you took those corners a little faster than you probably should. The dashboard layout was driver-focused, with big, easy-to-read gauges and a 3-spoke steering wheel that felt just right in your hands. If you opted for the deluxe interior, you'd get richer materials, wood grain accents, and extra brightwork that made the car feel a little more upscale. Pontiac also made sure the Firebird handled better than just a straight-line drag car. A wide track stance, front disc brakes as an option, and heavy-duty suspension components meant you could throw it into a curve and feel confident. It was a muscle car you could actually enjoy on twisty back roads, not just on the boulevard or at the drag strip. In 1968, Pontiac sold over 100,000 Firebirds, and it's easy to see why. It had the looks, the performance, and the options to appeal to just about anyone. Want a sporty daily driver? Go with the 6-cylinder or small V8. Want something that could roast the tires at will? Go straight for the 400 Ram Air and hold on. This kind of versatility was part of Pontiac's magic formula. The Firebird also carved out its own personality apart from the Camaro, even though the two cars shared the same basic platform. Where the Camaro leaned a little more toward youthful flash, the Firebird had a slightly more refined, almost European-inspired feel to its design. It was the kind of car you could show up in at a Friday night drag race or a Saturday night date and look completely at home in either setting. Color choices were plentiful, and Pontiac offered some bold hues that really popped. Imagine pulling up in Verduro green, solar red, or Tyrol blue, the chrome glinting, the paint gleaming, and the sound of that V8 rumbling through the night air. The Firebird wasn't just transportation, it was an event. And let's not forget the convertible option. Drop the top on a warm summer evening, listen to that exhaust echo off the buildings as you roll down Main Street, and you'll understand why people still dream about these cars decades later. One of the most interesting things about the '68 Firebird is how it has aged. Even today, more than 50 years later, it still turns heads. The proportions are right, the details are sharp, it doesn't look dated, it looks classic. And for collectors, the '68 is a sweet spot because it's early enough to have that pure first-generation charm but refined enough to benefit from some of the improvements Pontiac made after its debut year. Owning one now is like holding a piece of American automotive history in your hands. It's from a time before emissions regulations and fuel crises changed the way cars were built. It's raw, mechanical, and connected. No computers, no driving modes, just you, the machine, and the open road. The Firebird name would go on to become legendary, with later models like the Trans Am capturing the spotlight in the '70s and beyond. But in 1968, it was still fresh, still fighting for its place, and it fought hard. Pontiac's engineers and designers knew they had something special, and they delivered a car that has stood the test of time. When you stand next to a '68 Firebird today, you can feel the history in its sheet metal. You can almost hear the roar of the boulevard on a Friday night in the late '60s, the laughter of friends packed into the back seat, the smell of gasoline and burning rubber hanging in the air. It's more than nostalgia, it's a reminder of a time when cars were built to stir your emotions as much as get you from point A to point B. So whether you're a seasoned collector, a first-time buyer, or just someone who loves the golden era of American performance, the 1968 Pontiac Firebird deserves your attention. It's not just another muscle car, it's a symbol of an era when style, speed, and individuality ruled the road. Here at USA Car Reviews, we salute the Firebird for everything it represents. The passion, the craftsmanship, the way it makes you feel just sitting in the driver's seat. The way it connects you to the road in a way modern cars can't quite replicate. The Firebird isn't just part of automotive history, it's part of the American story. And as long as there are open roads and people who love to drive, the legend of the 1968 Pontiac Firebird will keep on rolling.